A question for everyone on the panel, and again there was a huge amount of interest in the panel's views on the need to continuously articulate the social and economic benefit of Scotland's approach to welcoming refugees. How can we really learn from the work to welcome Ukrainians who have come to Scotland, some of them temporarily, but sadly some of them for living longer in Scotland, given the continued aggression of Russia and the ongoing war in Ukraine. I'll start with COCAB, but we'll work our way down the panel, because you specifically spoke of the new Scots strategy and launching our third version of the new Scots strategy. I launched the second one, and Hamza Yousaf did the first one.
There we go, in good company. Thanks, Angela. I think you talk about the social and economic benefit, but there's also the cultural benefit as well within that. I think what's different, I suppose, is that it's a holistic approach to supporting humans. So their talents, their interests, but also taking a trauma-informed approach. Because remember, people have left family members behind, so they need that support as part of that recovery as well, and making connections in a new land. I mean, it's a frightening thing to have left everything behind and then rebuild your life when you don't have the language. So I did speak to a young woman in Argyll and Bute, actually, and she'd done her degree in Ukraine, and over here in the last year and a half, she has managed to take advantage of the ESOL provision. She was able to learn the language. She has now completed her postgraduate in teaching, and she just started working as a primary school teacher in the local primary school there. So it was an amazing achievement. There are 12 Ukrainian children. It's a joint campus. There's a primary school and a secondary school. And the added value there is amazing, because she's actually setting up Ukrainian lessons for the kids that want to learn Ukrainian. And then she's able to do the English lessons for the kids that want to learn that are Ukrainian. But also I've spoken to families and women in particular who have had great talents in music, also cross-stitch, all these different sort of weaving, and they're actually reaching out into the communities, so that they're bringing people together in an intercultural way where it is actually an equal exchange. So we are able to share our rich, vibrant Scottish culture, and the Ukrainians are sharing their culture, a very proud nation, and they want to retain their own cultural heritage while they're here. However, they're fighting a losing battle with some of their Wains, who are now in our schools and are talking English in broad Scottish accents.
Thank you. Stephen?
So I always think it's worth getting a wee bit of perspective from history. We are a nation of migrants. Our economy, our society has been driven by migrants. There's not one of us in this hall that somewhere down the line, some more recent, some more distantly in the past, have a refugee or a migrant who has come here. And they've come here and they've enriched our society, they've enriched our economy, they've made Scotland a better place to live and work. And actually, I think that's really worth thinking about, because that's something that should inform our debate. And actually, when we saw the nature, and I'm sorry to say the nature of the debate in recent times in the way that we talk about migrants, we talk about the desperate people piling into rubber dinghies to cross the English Channel. Remembering that human side of it is really important. I'm really proud to be part of a party that has remembered that human side. And the way COCAB talks about it, that's important. How we talk about this issue counts. And I'm going to mention two last things. One of the members, I think a poet who's a member in Perth, Jim McIntosh, has just written a fantastic poetry anthology about the human circumstances of migration. And it really reminds us that this is a human story. This is about people. And we should do well always to remember that. And while I'm on books, Angus talked about the Northern Neighbourhood. Of course, you can read about that, the Northern Neighbourhood, in an excellent book, Scotland's Foreign Policy Footprint, by Professor Stephen Gethins, which I'm sure is still available in all good bookshops.
Very good read.
Utterly shameless. Angus.
So no shameless book plugs here.
No more book plugs, Angus.
Definitely
Absolutely not.
Definitely not. So all joking aside, I mean, I feel quite struck by this debate. My mother was a refugee. And came to these shores because of the Second World War and grew up, frankly, very traumatized by her childhood experiences. I grew up in that. My first language isn't English. My first language is German. I speak German with my children. And so this discussion we're having about recognizing the circumstances in which people come here, the fact that it's not always easy, the fact that people are often trying to hold on to something from a country they left, a country that might not actually exist in the same way as it did when they lived there or left, is something that resonates very strongly with me. So when I hear what Kokab was saying, for example, about Ukrainians who have come here, I just think that, you know, all praise to her, to Neil Gray, who also fronted up the Scottish Government's efforts in offering a warm welcome to Ukrainians who are here. The conversations I've had with Ukrainians who've come here, they love Scotland. And they love the fact that they have a place in Scotland, and I love the fact that they feel that way. And it makes me proud of my country that they and others from other countries and other circumstances, often extremely testing, have come here and have made their home here. And it leads me to think of another thing, and I'm going to hand back the mic in a second. I could talk forever about this. When we're talking about diaspora, a thing that we've kind of taken for granted, people who left centuries ago, we're losing the fact that the diaspora is actually an emerging and a changing thing. And these people form part of Scotland's diaspora. It's not just a one-way, those that left, it's also the people who came and their relationship, an ongoing relationship that they have with the country that they have come from. And I think that behoves us to think a little bit more and differently about how do we make more of that. For Poles, for example, think of all the tens of thousands of Poles who've come to Scotland and still have connections in Poland. What are we doing with that? We're trying to do more with that, is the answer. So I think thinking about all of this in the round, the fact that this goes back to the T-shirt, and it's much more than the T-shirt. We are Scotland's international party. We are hardwired into that thinking. And I'm really proud of what the Scottish Government does to make sure that people who come here, regardless of where they come from, are welcome. And we need to do everything that we can to keep all of that going.